Welcome everybody to our panel discussion today about materials innovation for energy efficiency. My name is HeiQ Romero. I am Digital Marketing Manager at HeiQ and I will be guiding the panel discussion today. We'll have 45 minutes of discussions followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. So you can ask our speakers questions. You can actually ask them questions throughout the discussions just by using the Q&A button. We will then answer your questions after the discussion. So now let me introduce our speakers. First up, we have Dr. Murray Height. Murray is the co-founder and Chief Innovation Officer of HeiQ. He has a chemical engineering degree from the University of Newcastle and a PhD from MIT. During his postgraduate studies at ETH in Switzerland, he met his fellow co-founder Carlo Cetonze. The two of them founded HeiQ in 2005. Then next up, we have Kate Maiava. Kate is CEO of HX in Taiwan. It's a joint venture between HeiQ and Zech. Kate studied fashion and textiles in Auckland, New Zealand, and she worked for a host of influential companies, such as Young One, Under Armour, Old Navy, Gap, before she joined HeiQ in 2020. Then next up, our third speaker, Marie Desroches. Unfortunately, she won't be able to join us today. She's unwell. Her part will be taken up by Murray. But let me still introduce Marie to you with a few words. So Marie Desroches, she's our Vice President, Engineering and Business Development at HeiQ. She has a master's in chemical engineering and an international working experience spanning the continents. She joined HeiQ in 2021 and is in charge of HeiQ GrapheneX. So this will be introduced by Murray instead of her, but she will be your contact for this particular topic. Then last but not least, we have Dr. Oliver Zech. Oliver is CEO of HeiQ RAS in Germany. He has studied chemistry in France and Germany and has a PhD in chemistry and an MBA in general management. So this is it for the speakers today. Now, without further ado, let's start with our panel discussion. First question. It's actually quite a general one. It goes to Murray. So last year, we already held a panel. It was about sustainability. HeiQ has a long history of innovating for sustainability. How does innovating for energy efficiency play into that? Murray.
Thanks, Rahel, and good morning, everyone, and hello all around the world, wherever you may be. I think one of the characteristics of HeiQ really right from the start of the business and through the journey really has been this fascination with materials generally and the role that they play in everyday life, in almost everything we do. So this fascination for materials and the science of materials is really a key underpinning about how we go about things. And everyone in HeiQ has this shared passion about how we can develop new materials that can help improve everyday life. And that's really a key aspect about how we go about things at HeiQ. So when we think about how we innovate and what drives us to innovate, in the end it comes down to how do we help to do things better. And so when we think about the current situation where there's a lot of awareness in society at the moment about the challenges with energy in terms of escalating prices, challenges with supply, and also a growing awareness about the role of energy efficiency in terms of addressing some of these problems. So when HeiQ, as we approach innovation and the types of things that we can work on, we see energy challenges as really an area where there is a role for coming up with materials and innovating in materials to help address some of these challenges. And we'll hear some of the technologies that we're working on in that direction today. But I think more generally, the energy challenges and awareness of energy is part of a broader picture about sustainability. And that's very much an underpinning about how we go about innovation, as well as what motivates us across the board in what we do. So when we think about the areas where we seek to address sustainability and innovation generally, we generally think about 4 areas of functionality. So things like comfort, hygiene, protection, and the 4th one is resource efficiency. And this one is very directly aimed at benefits in terms of sustainability. And so some examples of that, we have a product, for example, a technology called Clean Tech, and that is developed really towards improving the efficiency and speed of polyester dyeing. So that has major benefits in terms of reduced energy use, for example. So really positioned towards sustainability. So this resource efficiency category is a way that we address sustainability, but really across the board in everything we do, how we think about sustainability, all of our technologies, all of our products, we have this question in the background about how we can improve sustainability in terms of materials we choose, in terms of materials that we develop, as well as benefits in terms of how these technologies are used. So sustainability is really something that in any of our things, we keep that in consideration. And so another example there is even our fresh category, which helps clothes to stay fresher for longer, to be worn longer without washing. And this can have a benefit also in terms of sustainability through the wash cycle. So different ways that we think about sustainability, and as part of that, energy and energy efficiency is very much in that picture. But I think wherever we look about what problems there are or what ways that we can help bring a benefit, we're always on the lookout for the role of new materials and material innovation to give a benefit.
Okay, thank you very much. You mentioned a few examples here that leads us into, well, each of our other speakers, that you now cover one of them, is presenting, overseeing one HeiQ technology platform that has great energy saving potential. So I would like each of you speakers to introduce your platform, your technology, and how this happens and how this helps with energy efficiency.
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to introduce a super exciting technology, HeiQ ECOS, and also explain what the technology has to do with energy saving. HeiQ ECOS stands for silver wires, and silver wires combine the properties of transparency with conductivity. Consequently, HeiQ ECOS is the next generation of thin film transparent conductive coating, and it also shows, and that's very important for energy saving, heat reflection properties and also shielding properties. The silver wires are conventionally applied in form of a dispersion of a coating formulation to surfaces, and these surfaces can be a huge variety of substrates. For example, polymer films, glass substrates, other transparent polymers, or even textiles can be coated with HeiQ ECOS. And one special feature, one very important property is that such thin layers, such thin conductive layers show beside the high transparency also heat reflection properties, so-called low E properties, low emissivity properties. And this is where energy saving comes into the game. I would like to illustrate this with a quite simple example, a low E window film. Imagine we have a polymer film with silver wires that has an adhesive layer and that can be installed on a window surface. And from the background, it's probably important to know that the building stock in Europe, the buildings are rather old and poorly insulated. More than 85% of the European building stock was built before 2001. So especially in winter time, a lot of energy is consumed by heating. And often these old buildings, as you know, still rely on fossil fuels such as gas and oil. And now, if you take such an old building with old windows and we place our HeiQ ECOS technology-based low-E window film on such a surface, we can improve the insulation properties of the window, for example, in case of a single glazing, by 40%, 40. So improving the insulation properties means that we save energy from heating. Well, such old building, of course, do not only consist of glass windows, they also consist of walls, of roof, of cellars. So, but if we consider all that, we can improve the overall insulation properties for old buildings by around 10%, which again corresponds to 10% of the heating costs, simply by applying a polymer film on windows of old buildings. And in parallel, the HeiQ ECOS technology is also very resource efficient. With 1 kilogram silver wires, you can coat 10,000 square meters of polymer film that can be used, for example, for these low-E windows. And well, this was the winter case, but it's also beneficial for the summer case, especially in hot countries. We can eliminate excessive heat. Crucial for these low-E properties is the temperature difference between the inside and the outside. This means if it's hot outside and you want to have it cold inside, these low-E layers based on HeiQ ECOS keeps a room cold in summer, and it keeps it warm in winter. And well, currently with this new HeiQ ECOS technology, we are actively searching for strategic partners, especially for these low-E properties, to bring this into different applications.
Thank you very much, Oliver. That's really, really fascinating. I hope we find good partners in Asia as well, with the problem of hot and cold. Well, you wish to cool the hot rooms, etc. is way bigger than in Europe. But here we have the opposite. We have the cold winters that we would like. Now we need to heat, and it's a lot of energy costs coming up. Now, thank you very much. Now, leading over to Kate. Kate, can you introduce your technology platform?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So I am CEO of HX Innovation, which is in Taiwan. We have a very unique technology called HeiQ GrapheneX. This is an ultra-thin heat reflective surface, which is added to one side of the fabric, which is by high-tech vapor deposition. It's a radiant barrier technology, and it's reflecting your energetic infrared body heat back to your body, which improves the thermal retention. So this is really forward-thinking methods of creating much more effective use of warming without having heavy, bulky insulations. You're allowing much higher insulation efficiency, excellent heat retention. It enables you to create thinner, lighter, and warmer insulated textile products. So if you are looking at doing something like jackets, you don't need something really thick and bulky to keep you warm, especially when you're going right up the mountains, you're really active. If you're too bulky, it hinders your mobility. It's heavy. This allows you to have things which are much more packable, much more accessible, and really perform very well. There are all sorts of end uses that you could put it in. We have it in products such as duvets as well. So of course, if you look at from a sustainability perspective as well, the amount of insulation you might have in a duvet that you're shipping across the world, that you're storing, in some cases, we can get as much as half the amount of insulation used with our product and achieve the same warmth rating for product that has double the insulation if you were to include our technology. So that's considerable savings. In doing that, you're obviously reducing the environmental footprint. It can be up to 50% savings in insulation material, so it's significant. The beauty of the technology too is it's an air vapor deposition, as I mentioned before. This is such a fine coating that we apply of aluminium on the fabric that it doesn't affect the original fabric's characteristics. So this means that the moisture vapor transfer, if it was good before, once we coat it, it remains just as good. It's not noisy, it's very quiet. So if you were looking at areas like hunting and fishing, or just in general, I think no one really wants something that's very noisy. The hand feel of it is great. It's not stiff, it's not scratchy in the sound. If you need DWR on it, you can keep DWR and of course have downproof fabrics if needed. So it's pretty unique in the way in which it's applied. It is a highly patented process that we have within it, all utilizing this radiant barrier technology.
Thank you very much, Kate. This is this is really cool actually, to wear a jacket that's thin and still feel like you're wearing a super bulky jacket. So you have the movement and the warmth that you didn't have before. Thank you very much. And that leads me over to the third technology platform that we present. So Murray is taking over for Mary. Let's see. Murray, could you explain this technology platform, please?
Sure, thanks, Rahel. So HeiQ GrapheneX is a technology that works with this amazing material, graphene. And when we think about graphene as a material, it's a form of carbon that forms these naturally very thin sheets. And you can see that in the background here with these wave patterns of a single layer of carbon atoms. So this sheet property of graphene is a very interesting one. It's normally an impermeable sheet. So things can't cross over this very thin material. And this is where the GrapheneX technology comes in, because with GrapheneX, we've found a way to directly grow this sheet property of graphene, but directly have these pore features within that layer. And you can see an image of that on the right here, where we have light gray, which is this flat graphene material. But then we have these black regions that are essentially holes through that structure. And so what that means is that this graphene material that is now permeable and has these pores in it represents a quite fascinating membrane material that has a number of quite unique properties that graphene itself wouldn't normally have. And so membranes generally have a wide range of applications, but one of the key areas that's certainly relevant to energy uses is within next generation lithium metal batteries. Now, lithium metal batteries in many ways are a future technology that leads on from conventional lithium ion batteries. And one of the key properties and benefits of lithium metal batteries is that they have a significantly higher energy density. So power can be delivered in batteries that have less weight and less volume than what we currently have today. And that's really critical for things like mobility, and particularly air mobility applications, where these types of batteries are really an area that will grow rapidly in the future. So one of the ways that we see a role for GrapheneX within batteries, particularly within lithium metal batteries, is to use this material as a component within the overall lithium metal battery construction, and in particular the anode material. And the properties of this unique permeable form of graphene can give benefits in terms of stability and durability of these batteries throughout the course of their life. So this form of graphene can be one part of the lithium metal battery, but a part that can help the overall benefits of lithium metal batteries come through and give a benefit to the world in these energy applications.
Thank you very much. So these are three really fascinating platforms that you introduced. It's all very complex, I have to say. So how did you come up with these things? So I know HeiQ has a network of universities and research industry partners around the globe. Specifically, how did innovation collaboration feature into the creation of your specific technology? And maybe Kate can go first this time. Please explain how cooperation came into this.
Sure. I mean, as you mentioned, we're very much a global company. We're partnering with people all over the world, have labs ourselves all over the world, and continuously looking at what other innovations are out there that make sense to us as a company, that fit within what we're doing relative to sustainability and making a difference to textile technologies and what we're able to achieve. So you're constantly on the lookout for great partners. In the case of Xreflex, we were extremely lucky where there's a company called Zech. They're an Australian-based company who were working on radiant barrier technologies actually for sailing. The results that they were getting were fascinating. They were really performing very well. And of course, you know, you could see with that the potential with the technology was much greater than just sailing. So it was something that HeiQ were very interested in. Zech's ethos in terms of textile innovation and who they are is a lovely synergy with HeiQ. So it was a really great fit, and I'm really lucky to partner with the Zech team and work on this technology together.
Thank you very much. Next up, Oliver, who were your partners for ECOS? Who helped with this innovation?
Yes, well, in general, HeiQ is an innovation-driven company. And to reach the TRL level, the technology readiness level, where we stand now with HeiQ ECOS, cooperation with partners from academia and from industry were essential. My experience is, in general, for innovation projects to be successful, it is important to bring together all partners along a value chain, supported by scientific research, by universities or test institutes. And for this, our HeiQ network, our international network with universities and with industry partners is very beneficial. We use our network, our innovation network, both for internal project ideas, but also for new customer requests or for joint developments. With our HeiQ innovation services, for example, we search within a specific innovation project for the appropriate partner structure. We take care about the state of the art. We ensure that the value chain is completed. We also make the business case. And finally, often the financing is a very important factor, especially for longer going projects, for development projects for 2 or 3 years. And therefore, we also quite familiar with and have many experience with public funding. So if we have the partner structure together, often we search for appropriate program. We apply for funding. We also have experience, of course, in the grant project management and project management in general. And this is what we also provide to partners and customers on a service basis. For the HeiQ ECOS now in particular, we have several ongoing and also finished projects realized to reach different technology readiness level with HeiQ ECOS. For example, organic photovoltaics, a project together with a University of Erlangen-Nuremberg. Here we developed a fully printed organic photovoltaic cell where our silver wires have been used as electrodes, as top or as bottom electrodes. And this is also related to energy, by the way. Another example, transparent resistant heaters. This is something that we realized together with an industry partner. We are also working on several projects to save energy and reduce CO2 emission within our networks, for example, application greenhouses. And we're also working, to give a last example, roll-to-roll coating on polymer film substrates. As HeiQ are the manufacturer of the material and the formulation, we also need the competences for the roll-to-roll coating machine and the special characterization and coating processes that are used there. And therefore our network is very important and very beneficial. And yeah.
Thank you very much. It's quite the network, really. That leads us to the third technology platform that was introduced. Murray, can you tell us how this worked for HeiQ GrapheneX?
So the journey for GrapheneX begins in Switzerland, and actually a long-term research collaboration with the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, the ETH Zurich. And really some groundbreaking work that was done by the researchers at ETH around graphene sheets that have pores and the membrane properties resulting from that type of material. And that became a research collaboration where we were looking at these properties and really trying to move forward the development of this material. And so GrapheneX, the technology platform, is a joint invention between the researchers and HeiQ from that time. Now we've since continued to develop this technology and collaborate, and also expanded the collaboration with other universities as well. And we also work with the University of Applied Sciences in Northwest Switzerland, so the FHNW, and collaboration around different topics around making the material, the properties of the material, how to apply this type of material in different applications. There's many facets of collaboration, and working with universities is really a key part of that. I think more generally thinking about each of the technologies that we've seen here today, each of those have their own path in terms of collaboration and working on things. But this idea of collaborating to move technology forward and give a benefit is really a key principle about how we go about doing things at HeiQ. And this idea of collaborating, as Oliver mentioned, it has many facets in terms of how that comes together. But one of the key things that we do at HeiQ is to really reach out into the universities and institutes to directly partner with researchers and explore the science of ideas and materials and how that can be advanced. The other aspect of collaboration is to work very closely with customers, and that's very important for grounding our awareness of what the needs in the real world really are. And this dynamic essentially cuts to what innovation is in terms of the process of it. It's matching needs in the real world with ideas about how you can do things better and walking that journey together. And that's where collaboration has a really key role. So in terms of walking that journey, and really comes down to a process of addressing uncertainty of ideas and the risk of ideas maybe not working out. And how do you find the way to make ideas more likely to work and find the right path through? And at HeiQ, we really value this type of collaborative interaction because it gives us a mechanism to really explore uncertainty and walk towards this needs in the real world in a very collaborative manner. And that's a very important way that we like to structure innovation for us, as well as our customers and partners, to bring these technologies into the world. One additional aspect of that is that we offer innovation services, and that's led by Oliver and his team. And he referred to this innovation services activity. And that's really a key component about how we work with customers, and in particular, working very closely with customers to identify innovation opportunities, frame projects to help make that happen, and then work together on that journey to solve really pressing problems for customers. And that's another unique opportunity for us to bring innovation into the world as well.
Okay, thank you very much. You have just mentioned the real world and pressing problems. That brings me to the last question to all of you. So at this moment, energy prices have skyrocketed pretty much globally. A global recession is threatening, if not already here. Is this really the moment to invest money into innovation? Or should companies step back and wait it out? What is your opinion on this topic? Maybe start with Kate. What do you think?
Well, I think, in my opinion, innovation should never stop. Never stop. From a consumer perspective, they're always going to look for something new. If you're going into a recession, they may not be spending as much, but they're going to be spending thoughtfully. So you need to be offering products that makes a difference to them, that has an impact, that is harnessing what they're looking for in the future, where we know now what is so important is sustainability. That's the direction we're heading in. What are we doing around that? And then in terms of performance, how are we making their experience better? How are we improving what they're able to do? So in my opinion, for sure, you should never stop innovating. It's the backbone of what every company needs to do to drive themselves forward, to get out of a recession and to be the leaders. You don't want to be a follower who misses out on those first opportunities, because you always do come out of a recession. So you want to make sure that you're one of the people who are really successful, working the way out of it. And that's never going to be tightening all the purse strings and not moving forward. You've got to look at what that future direction is and how you can be smart, how you can be strategic about achieving that, because the consumers will want it.
Thank you very much. It's an excellent answer and very true, as it's really reflecting also what HeiQ is doing overall, also during more difficult times. Yeah, some of the greatest products come out of these difficult challenges, actually. Moving onwards, Oliver, what would you say to this question? Should you invest or should you wait it out?
Well, from my point of view, especially in a crisis situation, there are particular chances for innovation. It is time to look at the existing product portfolio, to think about new products and about product innovations. Look, for example, at the crisis that is still very near to us, the COVID pandemic. As bad and worse it was for all of us, what a great opportunity for companies to invent a vaccine, finally to the benefit of all of us. And as we are now in a time of energy crisis and rise in energy prices, what a great opportunity for companies that provide technological solutions for energy saving. And as HeiQ, as a company that provides such technologies for energy saving, we, as I mentioned, we are searching for innovation partners to realize such solutions, to realize new applications. And this is why I'm also very happy to be part of this panel discussions today and to get in contact with you. And probably afterwards in the discussion, we will have time to think about certain applications, or later in the contact phase. It would be great if you reach out to me with new ideas, and we are open, we are totally open for that.
Thank you very much. Murray, what is your opinion?
So innovation in many ways is about building a path to the future. So even when there are present challenges and difficulties, the role of innovation is really to see a path how you can achieve a better path into the future. So having an ability to innovate and focus on innovation gives this capability to adapt, address problems, find a better path to get things done. And that's an activity that doesn't stop based on a set of challenges that are happening. It needs to be a way to address those challenges and see a better path in the future. And I think that really comes back to this spirit about how we approach things at HeiQ and trying to find this better way to get things done through the role of materials. And these types of problems and challenges are really an opportunity as well to find a better way to work together to get new technologies out there that can bring the world to a more positive place as well. So absolutely, this is the time to innovate, and to echo Kate and Oliver. It's not a point to stop. It's really an opportunity to also see a different way to do things in the future through innovation.
Thank you very much. So this concludes the discussion. We will now enter into a discussion with people having questions. So this is the time for Q&A. If you have questions, please use the Q&A button. You can ask your question. Just here up screen, you also see the email addresses of our speakers. So if afterwards you also have specific questions, or you would like to contact one of them with an idea about innovation, please write them an email. If you miss out on this email taking, you can also write to me directly. You have my contact just by signing up. Yes. So let's first go into the questions already asked. Any more questions, please use the Q&A button to ask. So first question is actually a rather general one. So it's really general. So how would my company go about innovating or starting an innovation project with HeiQ? Maybe you can go really into detail here, like into specifics. Oliver, would you be able to answer this question?
Yes, sure. Well, the exciting thing is that every innovation project is different. So I would say there's no general answer for that, but what is general is the innovation process. So we have different steps that we undergo to from the idea to concepts to realize the final product. And the first thing is to check together with the customer, where do we stand? Are we at the phase of an idea? Are there already first results? Is there already a proof of concept? Where do we stand, and what is the partner searching for? And we as HeiQ, we support our partners and customers along this entire process. But well, it could be a quite short innovation project, let's say, if we have simply a proof of concept or state-of-the-art research, but it may be also a longer lasting project for several years if we have if we really start from the idea and we wound up with a final product. And that's typically the approach that we first have a first discussion with the customer. We have an ideation workshop, then we check, does it fit to a HeiQ technology, or is it more an external project? If it fits to a HeiQ technology, this might be something with a joint development. If it's an external project, this might be subject of our innovation services that we provide. And then we have a very structured process concerning, for example, a project plan, concerning milestones, concerning objectives, goals, state-of-the-art research. And we support our customers along this entire process. So that's typically
okay. Thank you very much. And a question came in. It's not actually a question, but an opinion. I will share it with you, and you can give your opinion too. So the first innovation for the company should be to measure their actual energy consumptions more accurately for reliable flow meters, particularly for steam. Therefore, they will be able, where they must innovate for future savings. This is very industrial as a remark. Do any of you have an opinion about this opinion?
I think maybe I can make a comment, Rahel.
Mm-hmm.
The one way to look at that is it's important to have correct information in order to understand the level of impacts from what technologies are happening. So in the general sense, the point is absolutely correct. There needs to be a basis in terms of facts and data, in terms of understanding what type of technology can address particular problems, where the gaps are, and also what the benefit from actually achieving that is. So measuring and having the correct information is part of the picture.
Okay, thank you very much. another question for you, Murray, actually coming up. What are your biggest strengths and weaknesses regarding innovation? Yeah, it's for you. So what are your biggest strengths and weaknesses regarding innovation?
I think in terms of strengths, having a capacity to reach out into the research space and work with universities and institutes, we view that absolutely as a strength in terms of how we can address all manner of different ideas and concepts, as well as how we structure that within our overall innovation process. So we would absolutely view that as a strength and also a unique capability that we have within HeiQ to go about innovation through collaboration and co-creation. In terms of weaknesses, there's never a perfect way to go about doing innovation. So there's this dissatisfaction at any point in time that you can always find ways to do things better. So there's always ways to structure things better, find opportunities to frame things differently, execute things differently. So that's a constant approach that we look at as well, how we can improve how we go about doing things.
Yeah, thank you very much. There is a question, I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding about technology, so I will ask it so you can clear it up. Are transparent conductive coating technology and X-Reflex skin friendly? Also, what is the durability of these coatings? So I will maybe let Kate and Oliver answer this question.
Sure, I can jump in. So in terms of skin friendly, it's not going to have any reaction to your skin. The technology itself is actually within an assembly as well. You don't have it directly on the skin. So from that respect, there shouldn't be any concerns. It's durable for up to 20 washes. Our only recommendation that we have with the X-Reflex technology in particular is that you use a liquid detergent wash, not a powder wash. And aside from that, it's very durable.
Okay. Oliver?
Yeah, in general, HeiQ ECOS, the silver wires are not in contact with skin. For all applications, we have some kind of the coating formulation over the coating, a protection layer that protects the silver wires for influences from outside to improve the mechanical properties, to make it stable. And well, simply there is no contact with the skin for the silver wires. And another point is what's probably also important to notice is that we only provide formulations, liquid formulations of the silver wires that can be coated with conventional coating techniques, not in form of a powder or a dust.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, another question. During recession, the behavior of consumers changes. What is HeiQ's method and bandwidth to capture those? How do you define what is relevant and what can be a new opportunity? Maybe Murray, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I think I can make a comment to that. I think one of the important things in terms of orienting where the innovation needs are is how you frame the need in actual real life. And one of the key ways that we determine that is in partnership with our customers. So having a very close dialogue with our customers, especially at times of transition, change, challenges, and really understanding where priorities are to make a difference and a benefit is really a key way of framing that. The other comment to make around that is that there are also longer time period trends and changes that are occurring, and that's certainly true in energy and sustainability across the board. And so there are particular areas of technology and innovation that we also prioritize in terms of working towards different ways to have an impact over a longer time period as well. But having a touch with what the real situation is in the market, in society, in terms of how things are shifting and building towards that new future, that's really key.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Are there any new materials in the fashion industry? How can we come closer to new fabrics to solve the overconsumption of polyesters and other synthetic materials? Maybe Marie, you want to answer this one too?
It's a very very broad topic, but it's absolutely one that we're engaged with. And one example of that is our HeiQ Ionic initiative, which is based around fibers of regenerated cellulose and finding fibers that can be a plausible alternative to synthetic yarns in particular, while still maintaining the properties that are expected and demanded in different apparel applications. So that's one example where we are really working towards materials that can be used in different ways in the future to support that overall industry as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And next up, question to Oliver. What is the abrasion resistance of ECOS? This must depend on the coating material used. Does HeiQ have already developed PU coating products for textile applications? Can it be laminated on fabric? Do you sell ECOS in already fabricated sheets?
Okay, so a couple of questions. I'll try to cover all of them. Well, first, the abrasion resistance a lot depends on the top coat that is applied. So often customers already have their top coat that they conventionally use for the substrate. This may be a textile, this may be a film substrate, this may be glass. And the first thing is to check, is this existing top coat compatible with our silver wire layer? Normally it is, but it has to be checked. And if this is the case, my experience is that the abrasion resistance is similar to that of the initial top coat. So that's the first answer. The second one is, well, we are manufacturer of the silver wires and the formulations. So what we can provide in a lab scale are samples of coated sheets, for example, coated polymer sheets. We also have samples of roll-to-roll coated polymer sheets. But if you then want to purchase it in larger amounts, then we need a cooperation with a professional coater. We have, of course, contacts there, and depending on the customer requests, we can make custom designed coatings there.
Okay, thank you very much. There is an in-between question that I can answer. So will you share the presentation or the recording? Yes, everybody who signed up will receive a link to the recording. And the presentation, there was just a few slides. If you want those slides, please write me an email. Okay, moving on. For Kate is a question. When innovating, how do you balance creativity and functionality? Kate.
Well, I think the two actually go together. To create something that is functional, you have to think outside the square and think about what's your end goal, what are you trying to achieve. Based on that, then it's looking at, are there existing technologies out there that you can work with to achieve it, or is it partnering with someone like HeiQ to say, look, this is what my customers, this is what my consumers telling me, this is what we're trying to solve for. These are the challenges I currently face, why I haven't been able to quite get there. You know, put minds together for how we can then achieve what they're looking to succeed in. So it may be that some things you have a solution that you can quite readily provide, and some things might have a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year innovation pipeline, depending how challenging that project might be. But I think at any time when you're innovating, you know, the best innovators, you come from a creative mindset. You don't just focus on, this is what I've learned, this is the only way it is. You always need to think, what if, how about we, why don't we try this? And then have the different minds around you who can contribute within that discussion.
Thank you very much. And okay, let's another question coming in. What makes a good collaboration with the university? How do you pick a good university as partner? Maybe this one goes to Murray.
I think with coming back to the importance of collaboration and working with both researchers and customers, it really comes down to having a very close dialogue between researchers and each of the partners working towards an objective in a project, for example. So one of the things that is really important in terms of what we're looking for in working with university partners is a very direct, clear dialogue with researchers to be able to talk science very directly, openly, with an understanding that we're exploring new spaces together in terms of what we're trying to do with materials or new research opportunities. So having a dialogue in problem solving and working together very closely is extremely important. That's at the researcher level with our team. The other part of that is the environment within which the research is occurring. And this is where the understanding with the university or institute as a whole about what supports industrial collaboration between the university, institute, and HeiQ. So having the right environment within which to go about performing projects, working on research together is the other piece of what's very important in supporting collaboration with universities and institutes.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's another question, is a bit more product oriented. Kate, HeiQ GrapheneX sounds very interesting. Is it a layer applied or a metal deposition directly on the fabric?
It's an air vapor deposition. So we are using a very minute amount of aluminium and no other chemicals. So all just by air vapor deposition. So it's a very unique application method, which we do out of Taiwan.
Thank you very much. Next question. Is there any way to learn more about HeiQ Ionic technique, materials? I work for a fashion store and would really like to hear more about the future of fabrics. Thank you for answering the first one. Okay, yeah, that was the same person already asked about these non-polyester fabrics. Maybe Murray, you can pick this topic back up.
Yeah, I think for making contact about any of our technologies, any of our products, feel free to reach out to us after the panel, and happy to make contact and go into more detail for any of these areas. Absolutely. Yeah,
please write us an email, then we can really take more time and go into more detail to answer these questions. Then here we don't have a lot of time left. Emails, you can also, if you didn't note down the emails of the speakers, just write me an email and I can forward it to the correct person. Okay, next question. Okay, I'm not quite sure what this question is about. Okay, I'll just move on to the next one. Is HeiQ GrapheneX is it biocompatible?
So graphene is a form of carbon. And so one way to think about carbon materials is that there are many different types of forms. So graphene is just one of them. The other types that we're quite familiar with are graphite, diamonds, for example. These are different forms and structures of carbon. So these types of materials, they have many different properties, but biocompatibility, safety of these materials is part of what we explore and understand on the journey. And similar to both X-Reflex and with the ECOS silver wires, these are materials where they're contained within many other structures within applications. So the materials themselves are held within, for example, the overall battery component itself. So they're very closely held within the overall structure of the application.
Okay, thank you. That brings me to the next question. What are some of the other uses for the GrapheneX material? I mean, you mentioned the batteries, yes. Are there any other uses?
So one of the key motivations for us to explore the porous graphene material, the GrapheneX technology. It really came from thinking about membranes as a key area. So having a very thin material with pores in that structure gives a way of keeping different liquids out, vapor moving through the structure. It, in short, gives these quite interesting ways to use them for membranes. So things like filters, for example, vents used in electronics is another area where there's this ability to keep things out on one side of the membrane, but also allow certain things through, for example, vapors, gas, through the structure. So it's really these porous, very thin properties of graphene that opens up all these membrane-related applications as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question to Oliver. Dr. Zech mentioned grant applications. I live in France. Can you help me get grants for a project realized in France? How is that? Doesn't know more specifics. Oliver, how would you answer this question?
Well, in principle, yes. We first have to look at the topic in general, at the partner structure, but there are several European calls that might be of interest for companies located in France. But there are also calls, for example, for a German-French cooperation. So we also have experience in this field, and we can support there. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question from Sri Lanka. Have you done any project with Sri Lankan universities? There are programs which are only focused on textiles in Sri Lanka. Murray, can you maybe you have an answer to this question?
We haven't done so to date, but generally we're open to collaborations in different areas, wherever they be. So happy to look at different opportunities in different places of the world, absolutely.
So if you have any idea how we could collaborate with Sri Lankan universities, please write Murray an email. He'll be happy to receive it. Next question, also to Murray. Is the textile industry facing an existential crisis similar to climate change? Where should be the focus of innovation apart from energy to resolve the current issues?
Yeah, I think the textile industry overall, there's a large body of work across multiple areas about how to think about the material choices that are made, what the sustainable journey of those materials are, as well as looking at alternative materials that have less impact in terms of climate, water, energy across the board. So each of those areas, in terms of looking at how materials are used in the textile industry, that's absolutely part of our innovation priorities in helping those transitions within the textile industry. And I think even today, especially with X-Reflex and that technology, you see a different approach about thinking about how to use materials. So even thinking about insulation, where we're used to these puffy insulation materials, with X-Reflex, there's a mechanism to dramatically save material that would otherwise be used in terms of volume, in terms of weight. And all of that comes back to how we use materials to get a better outcome in applications. In X-Reflex case, it's very much within this thermal jacket property, but it illustrates that there are opportunities to rethink how we use materials, how we build these types of articles, as well as the overall footprint and sustainability of the products that we support out there in the real world.
Thank you very much. Brings us to the last question. This panel discussion is nearing its end. I will ask the last question, but please, you can always write an email. If your question wasn't answered and you asked with your name, we will answer it after per email. If you haven't asked it yet, but want to know things, please write an email. Okay, last question. Are there any good examples with HeiQ for HeiQ Eco's use in Asia, especially the tropics or equator? Oliver.
Well, in principle, with our transparent conductive foils, films, polymer films, we also send samples to partners and customers in Asia, and I'm in regular contact with partners there. And if there are new application ideas, we are totally open, of course, all over the globe to realize new applications and new projects.
So those films that would be for windows to kind of keep the cooling inside rooms to a minimum, or is...
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the beginning, in countries where it's rather hot, and if you want to keep it cool inside and use an air condition, you can also save a lot of energy from the air conditioning if you apply, for example, such a low E window film on a glass surface. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So this concludes this panel discussion. It's the last online event of HeiQ's this year. We'll start again in January. If you want to be kept up to date on our projects, please sign up for our newsletters. We send out invitations to webinars, panels every time. Thank you very much for joining. Again, in case of questions, please write an email. We'll be happy to answer them. Thank you to our speakers as well. It was a really interesting and lively discussion. Thank you very much. And bye-bye. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.